You are now listening to Carlie's Couch.
I'm Carlie.
And I'm Lex.
In this podcast, we discuss a wide array of topics about life and how to live your best life,
whatever that looks like for you.
Hope y'all enjoy.
This week on Carlie's Couch, we talk about procrastination and the process that we found that helps us to move through it.
5 steps from eternity. That's all.
That's funny.
Anyways.
Man, I wish I knew you were about to do that. I would have been a little more prepared to hit the notes. However, maybe we'll just make that the picture that accompanies this episode. They can be like, why is Cisco on this episode? It's cool. We're talking all about procrastination. This is something that affects most people. And it's really cool to meet and to see people who it doesn't affect that much. It seems like there are people who they just get stuff done. You know,
Shout out to them.
It's no space between them talking about it and doing it. And that's always inspiring to see. However, definitely it's been a process. I think I've had times in my life that's up and down where it's like I'm procrastinating more or less. And really at the end of the day, I feel like it's a reflection of how confident you are about whatever the thing is, right? And it gets real easy to be not confident about stuff, a lot of stuff in life. And yet, you know, doing things, action, like that makes us feel good again. And so how do you get out of this like stuck feeling of procrastinating, knowing you procrastinating, feeling kind of bad because you're not getting stuff done, literally not getting the things done, and it just, you know, being in that space. That's what we're going to talk about today. So, Carlie, how does procrastination feel? Like, let's really establish that it's not that sweet.
No, it is definitely not. It feels yucky. Like heavy, sticky. It makes me feel anxious. Like it's always something on my chest because I know it's like something hanging over my head because I know that I'm not getting something done. And so no matter where I am, having a good time out, there's like a little cartoon like thing hanging over. Like, bro, now you know good and well you're supposed to be getting something done. And so it just doesn't feel good. Like it's like this constant like feeling.
I'll also say for me, I tend to feel it like in my chest, like where it's tight. I'm not breathing relaxed. And also I'll notice in your mood, like I'll have more of an attitude or I'll be more irritable with little things. Mm-hmm. For example, it's like, you know, maybe somebody calls you about something, checking in on it. It's like I might have been sitting on the sofa the whole time anyway, but like now I still have an attitude because it's like why are you asking me about this? Mm-hmm. And like you're more short with people. And so it just, you know, you're not carefree. And like, it's just like a ball and chain on your ankle, essentially, when you're procrastinating. And so do that first. Like think about your level of procrastination, how you procrastinate, and like, how does that make you feel when you're doing that? And especially when you know you're doing that. So get that established first. Next, I will say that in the time period, especially this summer, I had a real good period of time where I was like, wow, I am not procrastinating on anything. I was getting hella stuff done, being very super productive throughout the day and taking advantage of that. And during that time, I just like felt lighter. And I'm like, wow, I'm getting more done, but I don't feel more drained or more tired. I actually feel more like that when I'm like just looking at stuff and thinking about it or planning it and not really doing it. So definitely feeling lighter and of course more accomplished.
I'm about to say, and more confident in yourself because whenever you say you're going to do a thing and you do it well, you just feel like that girl, like you feel unstoppable. Like it's a little bit of a superpower whenever you're actually able to execute on things.
Yeah, just like procrastination is a cycle of feeling kind of bad or down or low self-esteem, and then you're procrastinating. Such is the cycle of getting things done, and you feel good, and you're like, oh shoot, I could go for the moon, and you could do a little more, and you feel good. So they're both cycles, and it's kind of a matter of like, how do you jump from this train to the other one? Another thing that I'll say I recognize and notice when I was going through a period of like not thinking that hard and overdoing it with procrastination is that my day, even though I got so much more done and felt so much more productive, I also felt like I had so much more time for some reason. It would be weird. Like, I didn't wake up and like start at 5 a.m. and da-da-da-da-da. Like that's not what it meant for me to be not procrastinating. I still woke up, did my thing. But when I sat down to do work, I literally just did the work. And it was like, oh, if I actually sat down and focused from like 9 to 12, I was done with everything that I need to do. And then I had time to do other stuff and then this and then that. And I just was getting so much done because my pockets of working were much more focused and intentional.
Okay, so not procrastinating feels great, to actually do all of these things and get stuff done and see progress. And if it feels so good, then why is it so hard to stop procrastinating? Like, obviously we understand that it's better to not, but then why does everybody do it?
Well, sometimes it's just really hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. If I want to lose 40 pounds, like sitting on the sofa is a lot easier. And it's easier to be like, oh man, like what am I do? I need to be doing this. I should be doing that. Because it's harder to like picture, that final result. Another thing is that you're fighting the stories and narratives that you believe or that might be in your mind right now, which might be like, oh, this is going to be so hard. And that sometimes that's the more realistic story we're saying, as opposed to, that doesn't mean everybody's like, oh, I'm trash, I can't, or I'm just going to be like this forever. Some people say that, but sometimes it's just saying that like, oh, this is going to be hard. And that keeps us from even doing anything. So also look at the stories that you tell yourself.
And I think on a very scientific level, like our brains are not our friends. They're meant to keep us alive. And what is a known uncomfortable situation is better than the unknown. And so anytime you're trying to make big life changes, your brain is like, nah, don't do it, because they can't control it. But we are cool with this uncomfortable, chaotic life we have right now because at least we know what it is. And so our brains sometimes make it hard to get out of that.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes you are burnt out, or there's times for whatever reason where your mental health is not optimal. And during those times, it's of course going to be harder to push through and to be productive or to show up everywhere or even in like important spaces. And so that's something to acknowledge as well. And there may be other levels of things for you to acknowledge or work through that may help that clear up. I know in times where I have been on an antidepressant, immediately I felt like, oh, it kind of like clears things up. I know other things like Adderall could do that as well, right? Where or you might be able to experience like, oh, this is how it feels to like kind of have a little bit more clarity and not be as like pulling all directions in your mind and all those things. So if you are going through mental health issues or things that you need to maybe explore, then that could definitely keep you from going all in the way you need to.
And to say that all seasons also aren't supposed to be super productive, like trees don't produce fruit all year round, but if you notice that this needs to be one that you are productive and you're not, those are all causes. I think two other large ones are, one is like a lack of discipline. Instant gratification. You're
straight up.
You're just willing to order Uber Eats, then do the thing and bite the bullet and actually eat healthy and take care of yourself. It's just easier in that moment, and you get more dopamine from ordering Uber Eats and doing that. And then the last one is you're scared of failing, or that you're not going to be perfect, and so it's easier to never try and never fail and let yourself down than it is to actually do a thing.
Yeah. All of those are huge things that we all deal with. I know I have for sure. But again, keeping in mind that first part we said, like none of that feels good. And so that's the part you got to remember. I think that more recently in the last few months, I have taken small things to decide to be disciplined about. And then I notice like if I keep breaking it, then I'm like, nah, never mind. Like I'll put that to the side, because what I don't want to do is keep like lying to myself, or because that's a cycle that'll make you keep feeling bad. So I'll say, never mind, I'm not doing the nutrition thing right now, let's say. But this other thing that I'm doing, like this is what I'm doing, so I'm doing this, and like just kind of buckling in that way. There's a process that I know I have utilized that helps me to kind of get unstuck from being in a space where things are the same. I know there's stuff I need to do for it to change, and I just wasn't doing it. So we're going to go through that. So intentionally for me, step one is getting the facts and knowing the variables of the situation. My example for that is that there is a car that's been sitting in my garage for over a year now. I had a friend of a friend who just needed it to sit somewhere. Cool. He's like, yeah, you could drive it around if you need to. I would drive it around a bit, and then it started overheating. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to park that. So I just parked it. And meanwhile, like a year later, I'm like, whew, these Uber prices and Lyft prices are so expensive now. Like I literally am going to be paying $100 to go anywhere and come back. And after a while, I just kept feeling more and more disgusted about it. Like, I need to figure something out as far as like a car, what I want to put to the side, what's the process, da 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 da. And then I'm like, Lex, there's a car right in the garage, but guess what? I don't even know how much it costs to get fixed. I don't even know, what any of that looks like. So maybe I need to at least just like call the mechanic. Hey, can I drop this off so you could tell me what's going on? I might find out it's some little, it just needs like a cooling container or something mad cheap, or it could be the transmission is blown, whatever, right? But like often what we do when we're procrastinating is we are ignoring looking into what we need to do to make it better. Like you not trying to make a plan. You whatever. Same with weight loss. Until I got a scale, it's like, oh, you're not actually serious about doing anything because you don't even know how much you weigh now. You don't even know any of your stats. And so I noticed like I was avoiding looking at stuff. But once you look at it, it's like, oh, bet. And now you're interested in kind of tracking the number. Or now I can make a plan for like, okay, my car will be $400 to fix. And then in the long run, that saves me so much money. And so if you notice you're not even getting the details, that's the first place to start.
Yeah, if you avoiding that thing, then that's what it is. Mine is I waited until October 15th to file my taxes this year because my mom passed away and I had to file her taxes and I had to deal with all of the paperwork around her death. And there's a lot of stuff I have to do for her taxes and mine. And I just got overwhelmed. But also, I noticed that I was feeling really sad and I didn't want to face those emotions and the things with my mom's death. And so that was keeping me from moving forward. So the first step is like, you need to know what you need to do to move forward. But the second step is actually facing your emotions and asking yourself questions like, what's going on? What do you need? In the moment I started doing my taxes, I realized that's why I had put it off because I didn't want to face all those things because it made me feel sad.
So what did that look like? That's step 2, then facing the emotions around it. What did that look like and how did you figure out like what the emotion was and how did that help you to move forward?
So I waited until the tax deadline. So I actually started on the 14th, so go me. But I waited and I was filing all my stuff. And finally I started cracking up and open all the paperwork for her stuff. And I saw her name and it says deceased next to their stuff, which is crazy. And I just started bawling. I was like, oh, this is why. Like, ding, like a light came on. I was like, oh, I didn't want to face that. So I cried. I went for a hot girl walk. And then I came back and I was like, bitch, you still got to file your taxes. Like, sorry, it just kind of is. But I had to process in that moment, like just let the sadness and the grief go out of me. And I filed them, still sad, but I just knew, like I knew what I needed to do to file them. I had did that work. And then I let myself process that emotion and still did the thing.
And if you missed episode 320 last week on how to process your emotions, we talked more about that in that last episode. For me, I had to face my emotions around biz dev and sales because I'm like, all right, I have plenty of time in the day to be doing some of these tasks that just literally requires me to just get straight to the money. Like call this person, text this person, email them, whatever, right? I avoid talking to people all the time. So it's like, if I can send an email, I'm going to send an email. And then it was like a couple of weeks ago, I was like, bitch, just like call this person. Like I was like, somebody didn't answer my email, but I know we'd had a good talk. And so I was like, oh yeah, I think I have their number. So I looked for, however they sent me their information, sent them a text. And they were like, oh, I just didn't see the email. And the next thing you know, we were having meetings and stuff. Same with a couple of other things. Like I took a moment to think about like, all right, who are the people I need to call on sales stuff? One of them responded back today like, oh yeah, I'm ready to get started. I have another lady, like we set some meetings and started talking. So it's like thinking again about going back now to the insecurities episode, thinking again about like, what was keeping me from like, just like getting right to it. And I really had to sit and like kind of explore that and realize that just like Pharrell said, it's like I was the only person holding myself back. Whereas it's like break through that and just actually do your reaching out, call people. I have some lunch meetings this week with people. And so just like doing more instead of always thinking about what can I change on the site or how can I do this? How can I do that? It's like, no, just call people that can get to the money. Stop doing all this extra stuff. So in the same way, I had to process that and then kind of remind myself of like, who I was and then just do what I need to do.
And that was step 3, the challenging the emotions?
Well, I was facing my emotions, but then I challenged the story I was telling myself once I realized what that was.
Okay, so step 1, we've got the facts. We figured out the variables. We faced our emotions. We asked ourselves questions. Step 3 is we challenged those emotions and the story that we're telling ourselves. Step 4, set yourself up for success.
So step 4, if I want to set myself up to like be successful with it, now I'm like, okay, cool. I've had I started to do more moves on my sales outreach. I also finally, I guess for one email, I actually paid attention to it. Verizon has this really cool small business dashboard where they have all these courses and things in there. And I got an email about one. I was like, well, that actually sounds kind of like something I need to be in. And I went to it. And then on the site, I saw there was a couple other ones that were good. You know, they're about operations, sales, marketing, business structure, all kind of stuff, contracts, such a variety of information. And I'm right on the cusp of me being like, oh, you know, I need to do a little more with my sales and all this and that. And so I did one of them. It was so good and informative. Oh, I think it was like PR for small business, like do it yourself type PR or something, right? So I'm taking a couple notes like, okay. And then I see they had a few more and I was like, well, let me sign up for these. And so for, I think it was, last week or the week before, I did like 3 of those mini courses through the week. And they were like a live webinar type thing. And so that's an example I would say for that, like setting myself up for success. It's like, okay, I'm starting to do the things, but let me actually like find good places where I can keep learning, keep doing things, keep applying, keep bringing in new information, and move forward in that way. And that helped keep business development top of mind. And things would like start to click that made me have something that I could do. With the car, for example, it's like, okay, once you have called the mechanic, they could tell you what's going on. Now it's like, okay, I know what I need to do. And so now how can I plan with my budget to put money to the side when will I get this car fixed or will I do something different, whatever it may be, right? But the course of action can come now that I know what's going on. And so you just start to take baby steps. It's similar to like when you know you need to be going on a walk or run. And it's like just put your shoes at the door, right? Like set yourself up for that to happen. The other day I didn't want to go on a run or walk at all. And I was really like, yeah, I'm cool. Because, you know, it's easy also, like how we talk about acknowledging yourself. It's like, yeah, I don't know. This is not going to happen today. That's cool. You know, I accept that. And like right after I said that, I was like, now let me put my clothes on.
Shoes on.
Yeah, so I started putting my clothes on. And then once I had my clothes on, I was like, all right, let me just go do 1 mile. And it's like, that's cool. And then as I was running, I felt good because I'm like, all right, I told myself I'm going to do this 1 mile because I didn't want to do anything. And so it's still movement in the right direction and still propelling you out of that cycle of procrastinating.
I think that setting yourself up for success is the most important thing you can do once you're informed and aware.
You just have to really be in the mood for that. Like all those other things that we just talked about, it's like they really block you from even starting.
Exactly. So 4 is actually when you start, like whenever you like do the thing. But it's so interesting. It's like that's when you start, but also those are the little steps that help you really succeed in anything else. Because like my schedule got real busy again, and I was like, man, I want to make sure I'm eating healthy, taking care of myself for all my stuff. And so I started meal prepping. I used to have a meal prep business. I haven't meal prepped in years. Started doing it. It is so great. It's so much easier to stay in alignment with my goals, to not make poor decisions, to not waste money, to not waste my time. I feel better because I'm eating more nutritious food, more informed choices, all these things just by grilling some meat at the beginning of the week and then parceling it out for the rest of the week. Like that has been a game changer.
Yep. I did that last week. I set my meals for the week, got the groceries. And then what ended up happening is because one of them was like this big ass pot of chili. And it lasted way more days than I thought it was going to last. That and like maybe, Carlie, you had brought me some food one day. So it's like, okay, that took up a day. So it's like I still have meals from the last week, chicken in the freezer, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm going to do today is it's like I had some chicken that I had pulled out. I was like, let me go ahead and just marinate it. And then it's basically like, all right, how many things can you already do for the week between your salads or wraps or throw in the air fryer, whatever. So it's just a matter of being organized. And the same like with my snacks. I noticed I didn't have like snacks or like that's when I would go maybe get something or crazy or whatever. So I like made my list of things that I have to snack on, my list of things for this and my list of meals. And so it's just about being planned. That makes such a big difference to be set up in that way.
Yeah, the tipping point is figuring out what's holding you back, and then everything else becomes much easier. Because once you make a plan, then it's so much easier to execute and show up for yourself in all of the ways that you need.
But it's interesting, too, because we're saying, like, make the plan. But I will tell you, personally, it's like the action kind of comes before the plan a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I like solidify it into a plan because for some reason, those are the things I notice like, still not quite getting it done because I might make the plan or say I'm going to do this. But if I'm saying I'm going to do a thing that I'm not doing, then I'm not doing it.
Well, then what do you mean? You said you planned your meals and then you did it. What did you? What's the difference in that?
No,
but that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so I plan my meals as my setting my week up, but in the bigger scheme of like I need to eat more nutritious, that I didn't have a plan for it. I was already like in general, right, for the thing that I was procrastinating, but I had to start doing it. Once I started kind of doing it, then is when I got even more like actually making that kind of a plan. And so for me, I noticed like, I have to just be sick of myself and like actually kind of do it. And then I can decide to like, how serious do I want to be? How much do I want to make the plan? Once I get past this kind of like getting the facts, that's typically from there is where I'm starting with a little action. And then it like gets a little more serious where it's like, yeah, this is what I do.
And it becomes momentum, and then it becomes...
Yeah, because I got a lot of plans for a lot of things. They just don't...
A lot of people do.
They don't be happening.
Also, ideas are a dime a dozen, but action is the thing that differentiates it. And so I would say the biggest thing is to really recognize those areas in your life where you are not moving forward. And being real with yourself. Is it because you're overwhelmed? Is it because you're scared of how much money is going to cost whenever you call a mechanic or whatever you want to do? Or trying to get, whatever, trying to buy a house, if that's really what you want to do with your life. And then once you face those emotions, it really is easier to get that ball rolling and build momentum. So it just becomes part of the fabric of your everyday.
Yeah, absolutely. The goal with ending procrastination is get to a place of execution. And when you execute even small, that's an opportunity for you to build your confidence up and for that to continue to snowball into bigger and bigger wins and into more confidence so that you have less to even be stressed or worried about because you already know like, all right, I'm doing the work and this is moving forward. So this week, we definitely want you to pay attention to where you've been procrastinating. Think about where you are in this 5-step process and what you might can tweak to get through to execution. And we hope you have a good procrastination-free week.
This week. So start this week. Bye, y'all.
Bye.